Hey, thanks for checking out the Illini Inquirer YouTube channel. If you can do us a favor, continue your support. Give us a follow here on YouTube. Hit the notifications button, hit the subscribe button. That really helps us out. We're hoping to give you more content on our video channel here, whether it's player interviews, reactions, our daily dish series where we're going to be more topical and talk about the Illini. So give us some support. We appreciate all of it. Give us a follow, hit the notifications bell as well, and subscribe to us here on Illini Inquirer YouTube. Welcome into the Daily Dish, Werner and Joey Wagner, and let's preview a huge first official visit weekend for Illinois. Expected to have a dozen or so prospects on campus in the class of 2023, including many of the Illini's top priorities. And Joey, as you and I know, last June, the first weekend was very successful for Illinois. They landed 4 of the 7 uncommitted guys. They had 8 committed guys on campus. Of course, Illinois, don't know if they'll be that successful this year, but this is a big start to the month. And let's preview this with just talking about who are the biggest prospects, the biggest recruitments that are going to happen over the next month with these official visits.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious 2 lie in the state of Illinois, and Malik Elzy and Jair Hill. Malik Elzy from Chicago Simeon, is that right? Yeah, I always draw a blank. And Jair Hill from Kankakee. Those are the big ones, Jeremy. You talk about locking down the state, and you're still in a chance here to really splash alongside Caden Fagan and really kind of flex your muscles a little bit. That the state of Illinois belongs to Illinois. Generally speaking, obviously, it's the Chicago's a well-visited city by a lot of college football coaches, but you can really make a statement with those 2. And by the way, at positions of need, Malik Elzy is a guy who would walk in and play pretty quickly. You would think Jair Hill would fall in that category as well. So you look at those. So I know we can get into the out-of-state. There's one big out-of-state guy, Jeremy, coming up here, but those 2 in-state feel like really big ones.
Yeah, they're also hosting Deke and Tanielli out of Oswego, a top 10 prospect in state, a tight end. Bret Bielema's got a pretty good tight end pitch in his history, along with Barry Lunny Jr. with what they did at Arkansas together. But I'm with you, Joey. Those are the 2 that are top of mind here for Illinois, because you got to go back to 2015 to the last time Illinois signed one top 5 in-state prospect according to the composite rankings. That was Gabe Meganson. And Gabe, played early at Illinois, went on to play at Illinois State, where he did pretty well when he was healthy. But it's been a while since Illinois has been a major player. The last time they signed top 10 in-state prospects was Lovie Smith's first class, Kendrick Green and Ricky Smalling, and those guys turned into pretty good players for Illinois. So to be able to get in this class and get Caden Fagan, and then if you can add 1 or 2 more of those guys, I think that would prove that all of this work, all of this effort that Bret Bielema has put in is worthwhile, and that Illinois is a major player again for top in-state prospects. I think they've already proven that, but if you can go head-to-head against Michigan, which wants Jair Hill really badly, that is involved with a guy like Malik Elzy. If you can beat Cincinnati, just went to a college football playoff for a guy like Malik Elzy. Oregon has come in for offers for both of these guys. Oklahoma just offered Jair Hill. I agree with you. I think both of those guys are kind of guys who can be immediate impact players, but just carry the flag in state. Jair Hill, an hour north in Kankakee. That's a kid that there's not like that talent doesn't come that close to home all that often, just like Caden Fagan, and then going into Chicago, getting the top prospect out of Chicagoland, I think would be monstrous. And Joey, I think they've done everything right in these recruitments. They're one of the first offers for Malik Elzy. They were the first offer for Jair Hill. They've recruited these guys extremely well, developed great relationships with these guys. But the hard part when you are competing against the top programs in the Big Ten and across the country is closing. And that's why I think this month is so important, that you get these guys early. Can you close early? Because the longer these processes get kind of, the longer they go, the harder it is, it's seemingly for a school like Illinois. So I think they've done everything right to get to this point. Now it's the hard part, which is probably closing it down.
Yeah, and I think to sell to them, if you're Illinois, you're probably selling look how big of a deal this would be, right? I mean, you guys would probably be one of a big, really good recruiting class elsewhere if you could be the stars here. And that obviously in 2022, Jeremy, that could parlay into NIL dollar. I mean, there's a whole and that's not to say other schools don't have that NIL opportunity. It's stupid. They obviously do, but you could sell the home state thing here. But when you look out of state, Jeremy, there's a really, really big one that's going to be visiting this weekend. Jamarion Harkless. Remind me of the state? He's a defensive lineman. That's what I care about here.
Out of Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, Frederick Douglass. And Illinois was one of the first schools to offer him. And then all of a sudden, here comes Georgia, here comes Michigan, here comes LSU a week later. So Illinois really started this wave. And kudos to the kid and kudos to Illinois for getting him on campus. But the kid set an official visit for Illinois, and he's sticking with it. So Illinois gets the first shot. And you know, Joey, as well as I do, defensive line recruiting has not gone so well the last couple of years, and even early in this class with Illinois, with guys like Dante Barone, Roderick Pierce, all going to other schools for Illinois, and some other prospects going to Big Ten schools as well. And then a kid like Jamel Howard, Wisconsin seems to have made a huge impression on him as well after getting Roderick Pierce. So defensive line recruiting is a tough go, but you don't want to write it all off right now, because if you get a guy like Jamarion Harkless, you're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, it's been tough. There's still ways to rebound in some capacity out there, and he's one. And I've said this before, Jeremy. I think defensive line recruiting is very difficult. There are just not a lot of Power 5, guys. That's why when you see one guy go and an offer happens, there's waves in defensive line recruiting. Schools come in once this all kind of gets unearthed, but that would be a big one. And the fact that you're getting him on campus matters. It's better than not being one of the 5 and effectively eliminated. He's still got an uphill battle. There's still some really good programs out there. But to me, I don't see a bigger priority for out of state. I mean, in state we talk, and we've talked a ton of that, but when you talk out of state, it's hard for me to pinpoint somebody right now that I would say in my mind would be a bigger priority than him.
A couple other guys that we've talked about frequently, in-staters, Pat Farrell, edge rusher. I've had a crystal ball in favor of Illinois for a while. They're the only Power 5 offer. Probably time to close that one down. Brandon Henderson out of East St. Louis. Can you add another 3-star East St. Louis kid, top 20 prospect in state, kind of wrap up that offensive line class? You'd feel great about that if you're Bret Bielema and Bart Miller, and you can close that one down. There's a lot of defensive backs with talent that are coming in over the next couple of weeks from out of state. So I think they'll add a few of those guys, obviously. But the other one we got to talk about now, Joey, is does Illinois have its quarterback? Cal Swanson out of Oklahoma. No other FBS offers, just offered in this past week, but he's quickly taking an official visit. Illinois clearly is in a good spot for him. He's an intriguing prospect. You watch the film. I posted on our message board. Kid runs around like he's Johnny Manziel. It's just frenetic. It's a good thing, and you're concerned about it at some point. Can he do some of these things in the Big Ten? But elite escapability is really fast. Ran a 22-second 200-meter dash, which is blazing fast. You could see him potentially playing receiver down the road if the quarterback thing doesn't work out. But he's a talented passer and kind of fits what Barry Lunny wants in an up-tempo offense that I think eventually will run the quarterback more. Not that it's always a priority, but he's an intriguing prospect. But it's also Illinois has had to go and evaluate deeply because they're behind the 8 ball, right? They're late in this process after an offense coordinator change. So Lunny really had to scout and evaluate, and they seem to like this sleeper out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, and that's the key, Jeremy, is they do seem to like him. And it's my belief that I don't think they would take a high school quarterback just for the sake of saying, okay, we took a high school quarterback. This still has to make sense. And for them to go quickly, for him to move quickly, it clearly makes sense to both sides here for this to get going, him to get on campus. The lack of FBS offers, I understand. If you're strolling by and you see that, you say, what's going on here? I don't know, man, but there are some things on film that you would like and think that can be developed. And to your point, being able to move and scramble and use your legs a little bit is something that we think we'll see a little bit more out of this offense. But to me, you got to get through 23, right? Then you've got to start on those 24 relationships, because you can't. I mean, they were behind coming into 23 after a coordinator change, and feels like they've been behind a lot here, Illinois, and trying to find a quarterback. And I think of it a lot, Jeremy, like Brad Underwood says when getting to the tournament, get as many bites at the apple. Like, you're not every commit, every offer, every quarterback that walks through the door is going to be your 4-year starter, 3-year starter, 2, or even, but you need enough bites that one of those guys could develop into a 3 or a 2, or start pushing, and there's not a drop off between a starter and a backup. And this also doesn't mean that Donovan Leary's not starting tomorrow. If Cal Swanson commits, he's not starting the first game of his freshman year. I think we have to understand that quarterback is different. There's similar to offensive line for the most part, at least when you're recruiting where Illinois is recruiting. There's a time process to get established here. So, I mean, some of the skills, yeah, you like some of them, and obviously understand that Barry Lunny and Bret Bielema, they're going to put a lot of coaching into him if he ends up pulling the trigger after this weekend.
Yeah, some intriguing talent there. But if I had to bet, the 2023 starter at quarterback is either Art Sikowski or, more likely, potentially a transfer, right? Like that's probably what Illinois is in the market for. But you'd like to keep a coordinator around for a while so that you can have some continuity of what you want in the quarterback room. They can learn the same offense as well. It's a busy, busy month for Illini football recruiting, a significant, important month, and we will cover it all at IlliniInquirer.com.